The Cursed Bride, or the woman who was cursed to bury 7 husbands. Before we dive into this tale, let's check some spelling. The Cursed Bride. In the bright city of Lagos, there lived a beautiful young woman named Elara. She was bright, attractive, and well-educated. Elara had a dark secret that brought her endless sorrow. She was cursed. Every man she married would die soon after the wedding. Elara had a dark secret that brought her endless sorrow. Elara married several times, each time hoping for happiness, but her joy was always short-lived. Her husbands all met tragic ends, leaving her heartbroken and alone. She was desperate to find a loving husband one day. The neighborhood whispered and gossiped about the cursed bride, and Elara felt more isolated than ever. One lonely evening, Elara sat in her small room, surrounded by wedding mementos. Tears streamed down her face, as she wondered if she would ever be free from this terrible curse. She had lost all hope. She promised herself not to fall in love again. But fate soon changed things. Then, one bright morning, a stranger named Thomas arrived in the city. Thomas was a kind-hearted man with a deep faith in God. Thomas lived in the same neighborhood one day. They met by accident while she was going to get groceries. He had heard the sad stories about Elara and felt a strong desire to meet her. Unaware of the tragic consequences of such decision, Thomas found Elara in the village garden, sitting alone. He approached her gently and introduced himself. Elara was wary at first, but Thomas's sincere and kind nature slowly began to win her trust. Soon, they started dating and Thomas fell in love. Elara began to feel a glimmer of hope. Thomas believed that love and faith could overcome any curse. One beautiful afternoon, in a meadow filled with wildflowers, Thomas knelt down and proposed to Elara. Despite her fears, she accepted, touched by his unwavering belief in a brighter future. Doubts and fears couldn't stop the man. Thomas knew deep inside she was his future. He was convinced that Rita was the woman of his life. Elara finally agreed to marry Thomas, hoping that maybe this time, things would be different. Their wedding was beautiful, full of joy and promises. Samuel firmly believed that their love could overcome any obstacle. Their wedding was a joyous event, filled with music, laughter, and the blessings of their family. She was surrounded by hope again. So she dared to dream of a happy family life. Everyone hoped and prayed that this time, Elara's curse would be broken. Her mother prayed and cried for hope. However, what Thomas didn't know was that Elara had been married 6 times before, and he was the 7th husband. Thomas, the charming and ambitious young man, was happy. Thomas completely fell under Elara's spell. They were married now, and full of hope about the future again. Each of her husbands had mysteriously died shortly after their wedding. The curse that haunted Rita dated back centuries. An ancestor of Rita's had been accused of witchcraft, and before being executed, she cast a curse on her female descendants. They would be condemned to bury 7 husbands. Elara knew this curse was real. The deaths of her previous husbands couldn't be coincidences. Despite her doubts and fears, Elara hoped that this time, things would be different. She was convinced that Thomas was the man of her life. Over time, their feelings grew stronger than fears. She was torn between her love for Thomas and the fear of the curse. Despite her fears, Elara finally started a normal marital life, hoping that maybe this time, things would be different. Their wedding had been beautiful, full of joy and promises. Thomas firmly believed that their love could overcome any obstacle. Thomas and Elara spent few weeks together, after the honeymoon like any happy couple, having meals, talking about their future and planning to have children. Soon after the wedding, worrying signs began to appear. Samuel fell gravely ill for no apparent reason. Elara was devastated, fearing that the curse had struck again. She consulted several healers and priests, desperately seeking a solution. It was obvious, the curse had struck again. Thomas's mysterious illness grew stronger. Even the doctors couldn't find the cause of his illness. Elara was torn between her love for Thomas and the fear of the curse. Elara's beautiful piercing eyes were filled of despair and fear. This time, she had to share the heavy secret with her husband. Elara finally agreed to share the secret with Thomas, hoping that maybe he could bring any solution. Thomas trusted his wife and firmly believed that they will overcome any obstacle. After a long talk, Thomas and Elara knelt together in prayer inside their bedroom. Elara and Thomas decided to embark on a quest to find a way to break the curse. They traveled far and met an ancient sage living in a remote mountain. The sage revealed that the curse could only be broken by an act of true sacrifice and unconditional love. Elara was ready to do anything to save Thomas. He prayed, cried, and implored the gods for her survival. The sage gave them a magic potion, explaining that if Samuel drank it, he would be saved, but it would require a great sacrifice from Elara. Elara, loving Thomas more than anything, decided to drink the potion in his place, and accept the misery on her own head. She knew that this act of sacrifice could cost her life. With tears in her eyes, she drank the potion and fell into a deep sleep. Thomas awakened from his illness, while Elara fell unconscious. After a while she woke up and sat up. At that moment, they knew the curse was lifted. Elara was finally free. By the power of God, any curse was lifted. Freed from the curse, Elara and Thomas returned to Lagos, determined to live their love to the fullest. They built a life together, always grateful for the second chance they had been given. They prayed with all their hearts for the curse to be lifted and for a life filled with love and happiness. As they prayed, a warm, glowing light enveloped them. A feeling of peace and joy filled their hearts. From that day on, Thomas and Elara lived happily together. The curse was gone, and Elara's heart was filled with gratitude. The family celebrated, and Elara's story became a legend of faith and love overcoming darkness. Elara and Thomas built a beautiful life together, surrounded by friends and family. Their tale of love and faith inspired many, reminding everyone that even the darkest curses can be broken with trust and belief. And they lived happily ever after. Thank you for watching The Cursed Bride. Remember, no matter how dark things may seem, love and faith can light the way. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with friends.